Hey Internet, it's Gunter with MiniMishaps. It is Friday Plastics, and for this series video today we are going to be trying to solve some plastic mold casting engineering issues. So all the way back in 2015, we created a game called Mayhem that was sort of a cross between the piece movement of chess and the constant rule changing of a game like Flux, all based with characters that would be in the Getherverse or in an RPG campaign. During that time, we created some base markers. So everything, if you watch any of my videos, gets a 1-inch base. So we've got these base molds. They're exactly an inch. And this one. And so if you take these molds and you have a miniature without a base, you can use the liquid plastic and or like hot glue, anything like that, and then that base, when it hardens into plastic, will fit on a 1-inch map, 1-inch grid. And so during that time we had used them, we had made a mold for the base markers to essentially have an arrow that pointed the direction for the games that needed to know which way a miniature was facing. If it was D&D, it let you do things like cover and line of sight, and it also, you could color code them, so you could do effects like poisoned or berserking or whatever your character needed for the 1-inch base. The trouble was that these perfectly fit a 1-inch base, and they were awesome, but it extended the border of the base beyond that 1 inch, and it no longer conformed to that 1-inch grid. So our engineering question / problem for today is we are going to try and make a mold for a mold that will allow us to sink a 1-inch base down into the terrain that we're building. Alright, this is a blast from the past. I found this box. I believe it's a million-year-old makeup box, maybe. But in 2015, it was where I stored all the board game components that I made for Mayhem. And it's been in the box, and it's traveled around with me where I've traveled. And the thing I think we need to make our 1-inch mold, I think, is in here. So we're going to unbox the ancient board game box. So we have got some old papers, because the last time this was played was Monomicon 2016. Pretty cool. We've got these fillers. Oh, a bunch of 4x8 tiles and panels. These are ones that I made. But we also have official RPG ones. So those will get reused back down into the terrain boxes with the D&D sessions. Awesome. And then we basically have like 100 of these kinds of baggies, because each of the players, essentially, so this is 2 players, started with what is more or less a chess set worth of pieces. And so the very first thing I ever mold casted was this set of pieces. And these were all handmade. I made them with jewelry wire and clay, baked the clay, covered them in silicone rubber, made a mold, and so they are identical across. Look at this. this I will also use. Look at this baggie. I've got a baggie full of treasure chests and bases. Take that back too. Very cool. We have the color markers. All kinds of variety of the color markers. I'll have to see if those are anything close to a 1-inch base. That would be a ton of new bases that I could use. And a bunch of loose of the mold cast characters. A bunch of loose ones. We've got all the cards that you need to play. Keeps closing on me there. So remember I said it had kind of a aspect of flux. That's the cards part. But there is the thing I was looking for. It is a baggie of 1-inch silicone rubber circles. Because in the game I designed, everybody starts on a portal. And the portals used these. Actually, these are 1-inch wooden slugs. Let's see if these rubber ones are the right size here. That is about perfect. So that means it is 1 inch at the top, which means that when it sets down into the mold casting mold, that it will be big side up, and that will let the 1-inch base settle into this depression that we're going to make, which means they will then be able to set into the terrain that we're building these tiles for. So super exciting. I can't wait to cover this thing with some hot glue. Alright, so we've got our mold casting plate with our Legos here, and I've got that rubber disc, and I'm just going to cover it in hot glue, and it'll fill. We'll eventually be filling it to a 2-inch square. Right now we're just getting the shape of the 1-inch circle cut out. So we'll pull it out here, and I'm going to show you a bunch of different miniatures fitting into it, but that is it. That is our prototype is ready, and in a future video we will be covering that in the silicone rubber to make a mold of this prototype so that we can cast it with plastic, so that we eventually have these 2-inch plates that will become terrain, that are modular, that you can set any 1-inch base down inside and they will be flush as part of the terrain. So that's the goal anyway. That's the big engineering project. This has been Friday Plastics. I hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you guys for the next video. Thanks, Internet.